not want Americans to see the disconnect between the propaganda machine that they...
America is keeping people from going to North Korea because we're afraid that our deprived Westerners might be awestruck by the immense development and wealth. Dude, this is 250,000 likes. God. I'm checking my own subreddit. I'm making a great mistake. What's up with popular TikTok leftists making pro-North Korea content?
As an American, if I want to be on the right side of history, 99% of the time, the easiest way to do this is just to not agree with anything the United States government is telling me. If the United States tells me a country's my enemy, it's probably not. The United...
God damn it, dude. Campism is never going to die. I gotta say, campism is going to be made so much worse as a consequence of Biden aiding and abetting the genocide in the Gaza Strip, you know? Like, all of the America is always wrong people sure are being vindicated by our current position on this one.
The United States tells me somebody's my ally, they're probably up to no good. This is the simplest shortcut to having a pretty good opinion about foreign policy that you as an American can take if you don't have time to research things.
Remember when socialists were renowned for their analytical abilities? Like, back in the early 20th century, all the way up to, like, pretty well into the Cold War, the overwhelming assumption, like, of academia was, or sorry, of leftism was that it was heavily tied to academia, and that there was like a sort of like a thread of misguidedness that might underlie Marxism from the capitalist perspective, of course. But altogether, like, they were very much a grounded in books and reading type of, type of group. And I guess that's still the case to some extent, but like, hey, want to learn foreign policy and geopolitics? Whatever America likes is bad, and whatever America doesn't like is good. People learn this from Hassan. This is what I've heard Hassan say before, word for word. Yep, he is a campist.
Fortunately, I do have time to research things. And that is why when this person said, if you don't like it here, you should try going to North Korea, Iran, or Afghanistan, I had to laugh. These are hilarious examples of other countries to choose, and I will...
Vosh, he said that it's a good shortcut that'll get you close 90% of the time. You've literally said this. I don't think I have, no. It really depends on the time period, and even then, just because I think a lot of what America does is bad, does not mean the people that we oppose are good. So, for instance, America might have been bad and wrong in the invasion of Vietnam, but that doesn't mean you then jump to the other side of things and go like, oh, that means Ho Chi Minh and like the Soviet Union and Mao's China and stuff are all good. Like, that's not, like, I think a fair assumption is to be highly critical of power, and that would mean American power first and foremost because we are the most powerful. But, that doesn't mean you wouldn't be critical of other...
I'll explain why. First of all, North Korea, I as an American am not allowed to visit. I think I spent a lot of my childhood assuming this was because North Korea didn't want people going there and seeing what was going on. Actually, people from other countries can and do visit North Korea, but you know who's not allowed to visit North Korea? Americans. And it's not because North Korea won't allow us, it is because our own government will not allow us.
Yeah, we have an antagonistic relationship with North Korea, but you could still go. You just have to go through another country, which is what a lot of others have to do. Yeah, that's... yeah? What does that have to do with North Korea? Of course North Korea wants people to enter the country. They're so paranoid about people leaving that they have a massive security apparatus designed to keep people from fleeing the tyranny of the regime. Like, you can go to Turkmenistan.
Instead, they are content to make sure anything we think we...
God, people like this are so stupid. Yeah, my general rule, I'm really sorry, guys, is don't listen to political opinions from people with colored hair. I'm really sorry, guys. It's not so much that they're all wrong, it's just that there's a very high likelihood that they are extremely competently wrong in all of the ways that I'm sick of hearing online.
We know about the region comes from one source primarily, Radio Free Asia. A fake news...
No. First of all, Radio Free Asia absolutely does have ties to the CIA, but the knowledge we have on North Korea is internationally verified from an ungodly number of sources. There's no ambiguity as to what's going on over there.
Source started by the CIA with the expressed goal of being anti-communist propaganda. Any weird story you've heard about North Korea, like that everybody there has to get the same haircuts? Yeah, that probably came from Radio Free Asia.
What about the internationally verified fact that it's not a democracy, political you know, dissidents are repressed or killed and their families are sent to work camps. They have hundreds of thousands of people in concentration camps. There's no political speech or freedom. Their democracy, their voting process is a sham. Like, they're a monarchy. Like, what about all those, like, very widely known things?
Which to this day is funded entirely by the United States government.
Notice how this is supposed to be a defense of North Korea, but the only two things that have been provided thus far are America doesn't let you fly directly to North Korea from LAX, which, okay. And secondly, hey, did you know that like, also the CIA has done propaganda? What about the actual government?
So, babe, I cannot go to North Korea because the United States will not allow me.
You can. There are literally American YouTubers that have gone there for bits. Like, you can do it. It's, like, dangerous, of course, because if you don't follow their, you know, weird laws, they can arrest you because it's not a democracy. You can go there. You can't fly there from LAX, but okay.
Because they do not want Americans to see the disconnect between the propaganda machine that they...
America is keeping people from going to North Korea because we're afraid that our deprived Westerners might be awestruck by the immense development and wealth. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Dude, this is 250,000 likes. God damn it. Oh my god. All of the, like, Gen Z is immune to propaganda motherfuckers are eating great tonight.
They have created, telling you things about North Korea and what actually happens in North Korea. The second example, Iran, is somehow even more perplexing.
No. I want to hear more. I want to hear more. Madeline Pendleton, TikTok. 1.7 million followers. She has more reach than I ever will.
Propaganda machine that they have created.
No.
99% of the time, the easiest way to do this is just to not agree with anything the United States government is telling me. If the United States tells me and installed a right free to bring up between the propaganda machine that they have created, telling you things about North Korea and what actually happens in North Korea. The second example, Iran, is somehow even more perplexing for you to bring up, because if you know anything, you know that the democratically elected prime minister of Iran was overthrown in a violent coup by the US government. Why? Because he was going to nationalize the oil fields in Iran, and that would mean trouble for American business. So instead, we overthrew him and installed a right-wing dictatorship that was sympathetic to American interests. A puppet government, if you will. That so violated and infuriated the Iranian people that they overthrew our puppet government, dispelled all of the Americans, and put in instead a reactionary government whose main goal was to oppose U.S. intervention in any capacity. Everything you don't like about Iran, babe, you don't like because the United States government did it. That's right.
Okay. That's true. That was pretty much all on us. So she's acknowledging then that the Iranian government is bad. Okay. So not everything opposed to the United States is good then. In this case, there is a bad thing, the Iranian government, that was created by another bad thing, which was United States well, not just the U.S., but, you know, U.S. Western intervention into Iran. Okay. So that's okay. I mean, couldn't we then also say that North Korea is bad? Or, though she does remove all Iranian agency in the past 60 years. Yeah, well, I don't think it's fully removing agency, but I do think it's pretty rich, the idea of, like, Americans have no right to go, at least we don't live in Iran, because, like, that's on us. That's definitely on us, you know? And the British and so on, but blah, blah.
My country, the United States, destabilized all of Iran.
To be fair, she never said North Korea was good. No, she said that America doesn't want people visiting, so we're not awestruck by the splendor of their hyper-civilization, and said all the negative stuff we'd heard about them was CIA propaganda. So I'd say the insinuation there was pretty clearly, like, you know, a defense of the North Korean regime.
For decades. Dismantling them in any capacity. Everything you don't like about Iran, babe, you don't like because the United States government did it. That's right. My country, the United States, destabilized all of Iran for decades. Dismantling their democracy because their democratic voting process led to a result that was not favorable to us. Not exactly the most ethical course of action, if you ask me. And last, Afghanistan. I can only assume you must be extremely young to include Afghanistan on this list, because if you have been alive for nearly as long as I have, I am 37 years old, you will remember actively the United States' efforts in your lifetime to destabilize Afghanistan.
So, again, they're not really responding to the points made in this comment. The comment is saying maybe you should try moving to North Korea, Iran, or Afghanistan. Their governments oppose the US, so they should align with your values. This isn't the fact that America has fucked up places around the world doesn't really address the point being made by the comment, which is if your only political policy is like the US, then why don't you go live over there? These countries hate the US. And she's not really addressing or responding to that at all. She's only saying like this is why the countries hate the US.
The CIA was so heavily involved in Afghanistan, funding and training covert terrorist organizations there to fight against communism in the region, that we actually kind of created a big problem.
No. First of all, it's called the Mujahideen. Second of all, the Soviet Union wasn't imposing communism. The Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan when they claimed there was a bunch of internal unrest in Afghanistan, and the leader, who at the time was a Soviet puppet and ally, was like, hey, Soviets, can you help us out? Just, like, help us with these rebels, you know? Like, come on. And the Soviet Union just came in and full-on invaded because they decided the whole area was so much of a mess they would rather seize full control of Afghanistan rather than just, like, killing a few rebels. And it was one of the most brutal and bloody, like, military occupations of the modern world. And the Soviets lost. And the Mujahideen had pretty legitimate reasons to want the Soviets out. America also backed them because we didn't like the Soviets. But it wasn't like the Mujahideen was like... I mean, they were anti-communist because they were Islamists, but the Mujahideen was primarily motivated by the brutal occupation of the Soviets. I could be misremembering this, but funny tidbit on the Soviet occupation of Afghanistan, it was so quick and so bloody, the initial swoop down from the Soviets, is basically when the Soviets first arrived, the puppet government in Afghanistan thought they were there to help. So they, the Soviet soldiers came in and the puppet government was like, oh yeah, dude, hey, what's up? Then the kill order was given to the Soviets, basically like, yeah, we're not here to help, we're here to kill you. The Soviets broke out in fighting, and the resulting bloodbath was severe in large part because the Soviets weren't sure whether or not they were fighting each other or the puppet government, meaning that basically, like, it turned into, like, free-for-all map, like, near the, yeah, like, literally, it was, like, Halo deathmatch shit near the puppet government seat of power, and they brutally murdered everyone who was part of the current regime as part of their purge, and it led to Soviets killing a bunch of their own. Led to the death of between 500,000 and 2 million Afghans. Soviets launched an invasion of Afghanistan to support the local pro-Soviet government that had been installed during Operation Storm 333. Very sinister name there. Let's see. Soviet troops occupied Afghanistan's major cities and all main arteries of communication, whereas the Mujahideen waged guerrilla warfare in small groups across the 80% of the country that was not subjected to uncontested Soviet control. Same shit the Taliban did to us, by the way. The Soviet government initially planned to swiftly secure the towns and road networks, stabilize the People's Democratic Party of Afghanistan, that was the puppet government, and withdraw their military forces in a span of 6 months to 1 year. But then... Soviet and palace coup. Yes. Okay. On the 27th of December, 79, 700 Soviet troops dressed in Afghan uniforms occupied major governmental, military, and media buildings, including their primary target, the Taj Beg Palace. The operation began at 1900 when KGB-led Soviet Zenith Group destroyed Kabul's communication hub, paralyzing Afghan military command. This was their ally, by the way, the Afghanistan government, the Afghani government. At 1915, the assault on Taj Beg Palace began. As planned, General Secretary Hafizullah Amin was assassinated. Simultaneously, other key buildings were occupied. The operation was fully complete by the morning of 28 December 1979. 150 of the 180 Palestine Leaders Guard, who were regular troops, surrendered when they realized the attacking troops were from the USSR, not an Afghan unit. Like, do you understand how insane this was? They went in there ostensibly to support the Afghan government. And then a bunch of Soviets dressed up in Afghan army uniforms and infiltrated, like, the palace, and then just got the kill order and started shooting everyone around them. Like, Jesus Christ. Including at each other, because, again, there were Soviets fighting Soviets dressed up in Afghan uniforms. Okay, I'm sorry. Why'd they do that? It was the Soviet Union, okay? It was fun.
for ourselves. What was it? Say it with me. The Taliban and Osama bin Laden. Yes, all of that came
Oh yeah,
from...
actual no Russian moment. You're totally right. What's hello? I am Afghani soldier. My name Muhammad. Where is your leader?
CIA funding in Afghanistan. Then our government proceeded to bomb the shit out of Afghanistan in the wars that followed 9/11. We didn't like what we had created, I guess, displacing nearly 6 million people in Afghanistan. So everything you don't like about Afghanistan right now, yeah, that's directly the result also.
Please give a conclusion for her not being mean. She runs a co-op fashion brand that explains money on her platform through a communist lens. She walks the walk more than 90% of people. She just has bad foreign policy takes. I guess, in my impression, you just can't really trust anyone who claims to be left-leaning, but then does shit like weirdly defend North Korea. Like, every time people like that get power, like literally every time, it turns out they're not our allies, you know? I mean, maybe these are like sort of superficial views that, you know, maybe they're like superficial views that like she could be corrected on or something, but I don't really know. She's not really a tanky. I follow her. I've been using they, them pronouns because of the haircut for a while now, but I guess I can just go with she, her. I don't know. Yeah, what? Let me see.
Oh, you care about the safety of gay Palestinians? Oh my God, that's so good. I'm actually really glad to hear that because get this. In the past month, 12,000 Palestinians have been murdered by the IDF, 92% of them civilians.
She's literally a co-op business owner who's very clearly leftist. Dumb fuck foreign policy views isn't the end all be all. It's not the end all be all, but it's still like pretty bad. Like you can't not criticize someone just because you like them. Like for instance, I am the end all be all. I'm right on everything. So I don't deserve or need criticism from anyone, and you can all celebrate that. But if I did theoretically have any bad take, which I don't and never have, you know, you would all criticize me for it. You know, it's not like you guys haven't ever, you know, torn into me on any mistake I've made. I feel like it's a good idea to be critical. I don't think I'm being that mean. I think the comments in the North Korea thing were pretty stupid, though.
Civilians, over 40% of them children. And I think in most populations, around 10% of the population tends to be gay. What we think is probably more, but you know, that's what we're going with right now. So that means like a small estimate would be 1,200 gay Palestinians are...
Money. Guys, making money is easy. Just get into live streaming and just be the biggest live streamer or like one of the biggest ones. I feel like I could do TikTok videos if it was just me replying to comments, because I feel like this is the stuff that I enjoy most about streaming anyway, is like talking to people in chat and reacting to comments or like reacting to a video that I've seen. I don't like the whole stitching thing, but if I had like a comment in the corner and I'd be like, this is why you're stupid or whatever, that could be good. That could be good. Let me see if there's another politic here. Man, this individual sure does do the hair. I didn't really like the haircut that I first saw, but I gotta say, some of these actually kind of slap. You know, I mean, I'll give credit where credit's due. Yeah, the main thing that stopped me is I don't really have a setup for it, you know? You have to have like a vertical setup. Like you have to have something that looks good on like a vertical cam. I need like a phone mount, and I would need like the lighting to be right for it to look good, I think. Please don't make me get TikTok. Sorry, it's got to be a multimedia adventure. She follows WAP Goblin on Twitter. Oh, of course she would hate me. Or you can't look at her hair. Jesus. People who look like that don't like me. What's the... Sorry, this is actually the AGP versus HSTS divide, actually, over who likes me. Don't pry into that statement, please. It's going to be very funny for about 10% of the people watching. I enjoyed that, thank you. You're very welcome.